Recently, I believe I heard one of the best podcast interview, which is from Joe Rogan and Peter Zeihan. I'd like to share the summary of this here to give more people some insight of our future. By the way, it's Chinese New Year, and I wish all global Chinese an auspicious, healthy, and prosperous New Year. Unlike my previous video from Judy Heavenly, this time we have a solid systematic input from Peter Zeihan. Peter Zeihan is an American geopolitical analyst, and he published a book called The End of the World is Just the Beginning, mapping the collapse of globalization. And after I listened to almost 2 hours interview from him, I feel like I agree most of what he shared during the podcast, which based on US intelligence analysis of our world and future. The whole podcast can be parsing into below topics. First, Russia-Ukraine war. Second, future of China and COVID situation. Third, Mexico drug lord latest update. Fourth, energy of future. And within these main topics, there are analysis outcome of what will our world look like in the following 20 to 30 years. I strongly suggest listening to this podcast with full version, and at least based on my understanding, this analysis is the most objective one that I have ever heard until now. It's pointless to make another 2 hours digest of what he said, so I will mainly focus on Russia-Ukraine war and energy of future to try to digest some very solid and interesting views to share with you. So, here we go. Russian propaganda called Ukrainian Jewish Nazi gay demons, and the epicenter of Jewish Nazi gay demons is Kiev. Yes, it's true, and don't ask me why or based on what they named like this. Back to the analysis. Peter said, based on US intelligence, since beginning, they were aware of the real capabilities from Russian armies, and usually the first year of war, Russia always did horrible. If you know a little bit history of Russia, you know what Peter mentioned is so true. Until now, Ukraine is upside in this war. But the real turning point will probably in May of this year, as there will be more equipment that they utilized from Russian armies and more than 60,000 NATO-trained soldiers with NATO advanced equipment back to the war. In the other side, Russia's second mobilization will gather 500,000 more soldiers, and again back to history. Russia have a little bit more chance to win for a long-lasting war, especially after a year. So we really don't know what will happen next, but it will be a long war. With this background, let's move to the geopolitics topic. As this war is ongoing, one of the world's largest fertilizer export countries and one of the world's largest food export countries will significantly decrease their own efficiency. There will be more hungers in the following years. From this war, we can see the world is split into several small pieces, and the globalization trend seems like stopping and even shrinking. With this trend, lots of developed and developing countries will focus on their domestic market instead of trying to have global footage. Peter forces the country have better geolocation will win the game. Those countries who have a lot of unfriendly neighbors, country heavily dependent on import natural resource and food will suffer from nationalization. Another factor is the aging of the population. Peter mentioned this war was inevitable due to the low birth rate and the aging of Russia. They have to have this war now, or they lose the last chance to have a proper war with enough people. And I hope it will not become true. Another topic I would like to talk about is the energy issue. Actually, Peter agreed global warming is mainly due to human footage and overconsumption. I still doubt about this point, but from current data, it is just slightly lean to Peter's opinion. So, based on this point, what can we do? Let those people in developing world not using same amount of energy like developed world and let them stay current living condition to save the world? Sorry for my language, but I think this is bullshit. I remember I had a very interesting debate with a guy about how to save our Earth. He said we should not consume that much and live as natural as we can. I made an example. So in summer, in South France, which is more than 40 degrees, An old lady gonna die due to this high temperature, and her daughter refused to turn on the AC as it is not green. Another example is people should suffer cold and maybe from time to time climb back to the tree and live healthy and natural. I think you got my points. I believe technology and believe we should develop our technology to save our Earth instead of doing this stupid protest or suffering. But unfortunately, after heard the analysis of Peter, I feel it's still a long way to go. I'm aware of the battery and solar panel manufacturers' current limitation, and Peter just confirmed these points. Due to the battery manufacturer consumed much more energy and generated much more CO2 to our atmosphere compared with the combustion engine, EV is not greener than normal combustion engine vehicles. Here, I don't even mention about how to recycle the batteries, which is an even worse nightmare. Solar panel can only work in certain locations due to the limitation of battery storage and the conversion rates of solar panel. Germany deployed lots of solar panels nationwide, which followed California's environmental strategy, but not work well. Peter said the sun in Germany is not shine well. Well, since I moved here, I have to say the weather in Western Europe are really humid, cloudy and rain a lot. Why are those German politics didn't come this fact back to the time? I have to say, among them, it's always politics, but not about fact. The only energy which is greener, and we might depend on, is wind energy, but even with that, we are far from independence of fossil energy. So there is no nuclear fusion, there is no high-efficiency solar energy, and hydrogen can generate much more pollution due to current manufacture method. So, what can we do? Peter said we will go with the deglobalization path and maybe wait after 20 to 30 years there will be a breakthrough of certain technology. Now the bottleneck is the material technology, and this reminds me of a small conflict between Japanese government and South Korea government. Basically, South Korean government would like to get certain amount of compensation which Japanese government considered as ridiculous. South Korea government then applied certain embargo to Japanese products, and then Japanese government cut the supply of crucial materials in cheap production. Then the game was over. By the way, this material can only be manufactured in Japan. It's always about the technology, and I hope we can have more breakthrough in future. With the proper technology using properly by proper people, we might have a bright future.